I thought so.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, and can we please stand up and recite the pledge of allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Unknown caller.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That reminds me. Everybody, please put your phones on airplane mode because it interferes with the Wi-Fi. Okay, thank you. The first order of business is a public hearing. Fiscal year 23 amended operating budget and amended fiscal year 23 to 27 capital improvement budget public hearing. So on today's agenda is the reading, discussion, consideration, and possible vote on the ordinances to amend and restate the fiscal year 23 annual operating budget and the fiscal year 23 to 27 capital expenditure budget. Per code, budget ordinances need only one reading. The purpose of the ordinances is to amend and restate or finalize the budgets adopted April 12, 2022 for the fiscal year ending April 30, 2023, to reflect the changes to the town's revenues, expenditures, and capital projects that occurred during the fiscal year. The first public hearing is the ordinance amending and restating the town of Ocean View annual operating budget for fiscal year ending April 30, 2023. The statement of anticipated revenues is being amended to reflect actual budgeted revenues received during the fiscal year and revenues received from sources that are not budgeted, such as grants applied for and awarded to the police department, ARPA, and reimbursable expenses. The statement of anticipated expenditures is being amended to reflect actual expenditures that occurred throughout the fiscal year, including those non-budgeted, such as expenses associated with any grants received and reimbursable expenses. The second public hearing is an ordinance amending and restating the Town of Ocean View capital expenditure budget for fiscal years ending April 30, 2023 to 27. The projects and funding sources are being amended to reflect any council-approved increases to projects as stated on Schedule A of the ordinances. So at this time, I need a motion. First of all, I'd like to open it up to the public if you have any questions on these two ordinances. If not, then I need a motion on an ordinance to restate the fiscal 23 annual operating budget.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance to restate the FY23 annual operating budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So passes. I need a motion on an ordinance to restate the fiscal 23-27 capital improvement budget.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending and restating the Town of Ocean View capital expenditure budget for fiscal year ending April 30th, 2023 to 2027.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Thank you. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes 5-0. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from June 13, 2023.
I'll make a motion to adopt the regular minutes from June 13th, 2023.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So passes. Thank you. Are there any communication presentations?
No.
No. Okay. We're moving on to reports. The financial report for Dawn Parks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before you have the monthly financial update as of June 30th, 2023. The fiscal year 24 tax bills were processed and postmarked by June 9 for the assessments that we posted on February 15th of 2023. Taxpayers still have till July 23rd to take advantage of a 1% discount and until August 31st to pay their current taxes without penalty. As of the end of June, 526 tax property owners have taken advantage of their early payments discount and a savings of a little over $5,000. I do want to add, as of this morning, we received 136 tax bills back for inaccurate addresses. And reiterate again, it's very important that the community updates us with the correct addresses. Not only are they not receiving their tax bills, but when we do the full town reassessment, they're not receiving their assessment letters either. Of those, I've been able to hunt down 74 and update their addresses. So we are actively working, trying to get these addresses updated. We're not just sticking them in a box, but it still would be a lot easier if they would just call and let us know. We move on to our balances for our reserve and committed funds. Our emergency reserve trust has a balance of $1,043,891. The capital replacement trust has a balance of $1,200,695. The street repair and replacement has $2,997,190. In the American Rescue Plan, we have a remaining balance of $619,197. So you've also noted on there what has already been spent of our ARPA money. We still have until December of 2024 to spend down these funds. The Emergency Services Enhancement Fund, as of the end of June, we've had 2 new home construction permits of the 20 that were budgeted, giving us a balance of $1,054,713. Transfer taxes through May 31st, of course we have not received June's yet, so we're always a month behind, are from 15.2% of new construction home sales. We had 0.2% from land sales and 84.6% from resales. And what that means is we had 2 new construction sales, 13 resales, and 1 land. For FY24, to meet our $1 million budget, we need to average a goal of $83,333 monthly from transfer tax. The financial statements as of, as of June 30th, that's a typo, I apologize, are following in the report. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for Dawn?
No.
Mr. Mayor, just a statement. Dawn, I've never seen the spread between new and resale older homes that much. It's usually 65, 35. That spread being almost 85 and 15.
We are doing a lot of resales. Of course, we don't have that many new ones.
Online.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll probably kick in. We're seeing a lot from, what's that? It's across the street.
Country Village, Country Estates,
No, across the street from
cottages.
here.
Stingray Harbor
Stingray.
has about
Yeah,
5,
we
6,
do
7
have a
left.
few coming in this month from Stingray Harbor, June and July. We've had quite a few from Stingray Harbor, so I imagine that next month will be a little bit more. I did want to let you know that the annual audit is currently underway with our external auditor from PKS and Company being on site this week. So they are in our offices busily working and making sure that we have everything intact for them.
And since Dawn mentioned that, as part of the audit, of course, they interview the town manager to see if there's any issues or anything. And I was very happy to hear from them that they love to come to Ocean View because everything is in order. And it's like her quote, this is a quote, it's like going on vacation for them because everything's in place. Apparently some towns, they actually have to complete the end of year statements for them. So very, very positive so far. Of course, they're not finished. We'll all hear from them in months ahead, but I commend Dawn. She gets all the documentation together and the rest of the staff to cooperate. But that was just comments made to me yesterday.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, moving on to the public safety report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you've got a copy of the report with all of our stats. I'll be happy to answer any questions. A couple of highlights. The police staff participated in the Ocean View Beach Club HOA annual picnic. I think that went very well. We had a lot of good reports from the homeowners. They also participated in a picnic for Area J1 visa students that takes place annually down in St. Martha's Church. Again, we've got a lot of really positive feedback, not only from the church community, but the foreign students as well. Ed Donnelly, one of our volunteers, has reinstituted our Citizens Emergency Response Team here in Ocean View. It's a team we had in place for a decade or more that just kind of fell by the wayside. You know, a lot of the members got older and they kind of aged out, and Ed has brought a breath of fresh air back into the CERT training. We consider this a vital part of our disaster preparedness initiatives here in Ocean View. He had the first CERT training on June 21st and 22nd. I know the mayor attended. I believe Mr. Cobb attended. I'm not sure if anybody else on the council attended, but it was well received. We have a second class coming up, and we're getting a lot of interest from the community, which is good. We also, I received a phone call from the state of Delaware, the Delaware Emergency Management Agency. They've taken notice that we're up and running again down here because nobody else is doing it. So we're getting a lot of support from them and Sussex County Emergency Operations Center. Hopefully we won't need the CERT team, but you know, we saw what happened last couple of days up in New York with the flooding. That could very easily happen here. So it's nice to know we've got the team back in place to respond to local emergencies. We had a drug awareness day at Lord Baltimore Elementary School at the end of the school year. We did that in conjunction with the Drug Enforcement Agency at Philadelphia. Police Department hosted the Citizens Response to Active Shooter Events training at the Police Department. Had about 25 folks in attendance. We updated speed signs on Muddy Neck Road. The old signs were replaced with newer signage. We also took a look. I went back, had Russ pull all the data from all the speed signs for year to date, and we went back and reviewed that. I sent copies of that up to Ken Simino as well, and we're in pretty good shape. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we don't have a speeding problem, but I think compared to years past, the complaints have been almost non-existent this year. And if you look at the data that we're collecting from the speed signs, most of the speeds that we're getting are within reasonable limits. So we're very pleased with that.
Well, Chief, I have had complaints about the number of tickets people.
Yeah. Well, we are still out there conducting enforcement activities as well. But we're very pleased with the voluntary compliance that we're getting from the public this year. I want to point out that Ocean View is going to host a statewide festival, first of its kind in '23, on September 23rd at the Hope Center at Mariners Bethel Church. The first annual Death Fest will take place, and we're anticipating large crowds from throughout the state. So put that date on your calendar, and the police department is coordinating with the event coordinators to make that event happen. With that, I will end my report and entertain any questions or comments the council has.
Do you want to make any comments about the active shooter exercise today at North Baltimore?
Yeah, we have active shooter training. This is a integrated response class that we're putting on 2 sessions this week, Monday and Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday. It's taking place at North Baltimore. So if you go by there, you see a lot of public safety vehicles out there. That's our folks training up some of the other area first responders. And the goal of that particular event is to integrate fire and EMS into the active shooter police response. So,
Thank you. Any other questions from Chief?
Comment, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the chief and all of his officers for their effective and proactive policing. And 2 things come to mind real quick. Saturday, Officer Burton stopped by the church. Nanquilla was having a 75th birthday party, and there was quite a few people there. For him to stop by out of such a busy day and see people, you know, from my perspective as a resident and of course as a guest, it's just heartwarming to see the good interaction. Also had the pleasure of the chief driving down my street to talk to some ladies, either Saturday or Sunday. And it's just so important and makes residents feel so good about their town, their safety and their well-being. The model that you followed, the article that you provided us, Chief, is excellent. I read through it. Some terminology I'm not real familiar with, but the ABB model that you use is going to be nationally cited for cost effectiveness in scheduling and running the police department. Be in a major publication by Dr. Shane. Inspiring. Thank you. And thank you and your officers.
we got to thank the staff. So we're very fortunate that we have got a top-notch kind of group of officers and personnel there at the police department, and we're very lucky.
Well, Chief, you know, and you said something great, because it does take a whole team. And, you know, I feel honored and blessed to be led by the mayor, this town, the other council member I've been served with, and all the employees here. And when I say thank you, that's to its all. So, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, moving on to planning, zoning, and development. Ken Simino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to go through mine briefly. Our public works folks have made some repairs over the last month and have started a sidewalk project in Hunter's Run. They regraded a swale on Woodland Avenue where water couldn't get off the roadway, and it was backing up into the travel lane. Not on this list is roadway repair on Seahawk Lane, repair the apron into a driveway. Took care of that for us. On our capital improvements, final phase segment of design for the final segment of sidewalks on Woodland Avenue between Hudson Avenue and Daisy is ongoing, coming to completion. We're having a public meeting this Thursday, July the 13th at 6 p.m. here at 32 West to discuss the project with the affected homeowners. I'm pleased to say that Country Village Drainage Project is finally finished. It has been a pretty painful project for us and certainly for the contractor. George and Lynch is in there right now finishing up some odds and ends, and I did add some extra construction items. They constructed a couple new drainage inlets for us, and we're going to replace them on final pipe crossing. All that's being done under our maintenance agreement with them. So that should be wrapping up next week. Design of the final phase of sidewalks along West Avenue from Osprey Lane to Aspen Canal, that continues. This project also includes improvements, drainage improvements to Betts Avenue between Central Avenue and West Avenue. Area is very flat and roadway floods completely during any type of significant rainfall. So that'll be part of this project. One thing not listed here is under our land use and development and our community projects. We're having a meeting of planning and zoning next Thursday, July the 20th. The hearing is for the Silverwoods community. They are seeking final plan approval for the next phase of that community, which proposes 161 new townhomes. Code enforcement has been a pretty busy month. We issued 6 code violation notices for property maintenance issues, 5 violations for failure to obtain business license and/or building permits. Then there were 17 emails and/or violation letters to follow up on potential rental properties without a current rental license. 2 of the properties we're following up on. One is at 30 Brighton Street. We sent a notice certified mail to the property owner. We finally got the signed receipt card back yesterday. We have to give them 10 days to get their license and do all the things to become code compliant. At that point, we will issue them a fine for the initial violation and a fine for each day they remain in violation. The other property we're keeping eye on is at the bottom of Seahawk Lane. I believe the address might be 5 Seahawk. It's a very large VRBO or one of those other online rental properties, but we make it a routine to go down there 2 or 3 times a week, take a look at the property, walk the property. Even if somebody's there, I get out and walk around behind the property. I know Greg goes down and takes a look at it just to make sure they're doing all the things we had to violate them earlier this year. Business licenses, permits, and COs, all on there for your review.
I note that in the report here that you had a tree removed from the cul-de-sac on Canal Street, and the town council has agreed to that mound of dirt that's in the middle of that cul-de-sac should be removed.
Okay.
What would you do, pave over that after you remove it?
We'll actually cut it out in a square, dig it out, put the appropriate amount of graded aggregate base in it, and the appropriate amount of bituminous concrete paving material.
Okay. And last month, Randy Robust mentioned that there was, I'm sorry, I shouldn't mention his name. Country Village had an Airbnb sign. Did you take a look at that?
We looked at it. We sent the property owner a notice by certified mail. We've gotten the card back. We now have to wait 10 calendar days from the time that card was signed before we take any enforcement action. Those 10 calendar days will be up next week. If the sign isn't removed, then we'll go out and remove it. Just to note, the complainant did call the office yesterday, and he was advised by our administrative assistant that the sign, if it wasn't removed, would be taken out next week.
Okay, because I rode by through here on Sunday, it was still up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we just have to go through the process and wait the appropriate amount of days. Same with the rental violation and any property maintenance violations.
Tall grass, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Ken? If not, we're moving on to the town minister's report. Carol?
Yes, thank you, everyone. I'm going to skip over some things, but the newsletter feedback I shared with you, it was great to get feedback about the newsletter. We send out 3,600 or more, and this is the only feedback we got. Wish we got more. Hope people are reading it. The lady who sent us the kind email said she thought it was positive, so we'll take that. Gave you an update for the Muddy Neck Road improvements to occur in September. We don't have an exact date yet, but it'll be a mill and an overlay with new signing and pavement markings and dedicated bike lanes. So that'll be an improvement, and we'll hope for the rest of the road to have some improvements in the years ahead. We did get some good news at the end of the legislative session. The state's FY24 budget, the bond bill, included an award to the town of Ocean View of $89,950 for open space acquisition. And as you know, we've been talking about some additional opportunities, and this will be helpful to that effort. We also know that our partner, the Historic Village in Ocean View, right here, adjacent to our park, was awarded bond bill money of $90,000 that will help with various improvements to the historic buildings. We continue to consider pickleball locations, options, and understand the concerns that people have in other locations about building and operating such a facility. So more on that. We're still doing some work on that. Grant submissions. Even though we have been very successful, as you all know, with grant funds for the Burzins property, our new park that will be developed. It's in design now. We're still going after other grants. Just put in for a grant for $10,000 for an outdoor classroom / meeting area at the park. That was from Delmarva Power Sustainable Communities grant. And we're going to go after additional FY24 funding from the Outdoor Recreation Park and Trails grant program, which of course we were awarded $60,000 for this year towards Burzin. So we're trying to take advantage of any opportunity that we can. Shared some photos of things going on recently. Our OVPD K-9 teams were here at the last meeting, being introduced to everybody. We've had some successful runs with our events, our concerts recently. And then also wanted to share Officer Caselli represented the town at the Special Olympics Delaware torchbearer into the stadium at University of Delaware in June. So that was a big deal for him that day, and we appreciate his continued support of Special Olympics. Provided you some dates of the next things coming up in the community, offering the community for community events, and we are looking for classic cars to participate on the 22nd of September. And more information and recruitment for that will be going on. I did want to also share that there will be no meeting in August, as was adopted with our budget. And that's typical. We take off the month of August.
Thank you. Any questions for the town manager?
Just one little question. They're gonna start resurfacing from 26 to Beaver Dam. So right now they're doing from Beaver Dam all the way down. So
That's not resurfacing.
it's just spray, right?
That's just, it's not even microsurfacing. It's almost like a seal coating.
Beautification.
Right, so my question, I guess, is all the lines going to be back on there?
They'll repaint tonight before they leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What they're doing. But where they're
I just thought it
where
was
they
funny,
started is where we're gonna stop.
Right, right.
Why they're doing all that
Right.
work now, maybe they
We don't.
forgot where they were at.
Doesn't make sense. And then, as you know, last year in the section that they're going to do, they made it. They made some repairs.
Right.
So.
It's like, the coordination is awful, yeah. And I know you have nothing to do with that.
No,
Right,
but, you know, we voice our concerns and our dismay at times. But we were thankful that that they're gonna be in September as opposed to, because it's gonna be, even in September, it'll be
Right, it'll be
problematic.
bad enough in September, right? Just wondering.
Yeah, question, anyways.
Any other questions?
It'll look better, it's gonna look better.
Oh, yeah. More about
Okay, moving on to the Millville Volunteer Fire Department report. This month, there were 276, June, there were 276 total calls, of which 231 were EMS calls. This is down from last year, from 296 calls. And for the town of Ocean View, there were 50 calls in June compared to 35 last year. Town of Millville with 35 calls compared to 25 last year. At this point, we're going to move to citizens' privilege on the items on the pre-published agenda listed for discussion and consideration. So if anyone chooses to speak on the first citizens' privilege, he or she may not speak on the same topic for the second citizens' privilege. So anyone that wants to make a comment or ask a question? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. The first item is an ordinance amending the Town of Ocean View Code relating to use regulations as set out in Chapter 140, Land Use and Development. Do we want to give a summary of what this is?
There's a synopsis
No?
at the bottom of the
I can do it,
proposed ordinance.
if I can read it.
Okay.
It's like- Want me to read it?
The purpose of this ordinance is to prohibit the issuances of licenses to operate various marijuana-related businesses in the Town of Ocean View. The Delaware Marijuana Control Act specifically provides that a municipality may prohibit marijuana cultivations, facilities, marijuana production, manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, or retail marijuana stores through the enactment of an ordinance or through an initiated or referred measure. So at this time, I ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to introduce an ordinance amending the Town of Ocean View Code relating to use regulations as set out in Chapter 140, Land Use and Development.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the introduction of an ordinance amending the Town of Ocean View Code relating to licenses as set out in Chapter 93. The synopsis on this is the purpose of this ordinance is to prohibit marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, retail marijuana stores, and marijuana smoking lounges as a permitted use in any zoning district within the Town of Ocean View. The Delaware Marijuana Control Act specifically provides that a municipality may prohibit marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, retail marijuana stores through the enactment of an ordinance or through an initiated or referred measure. At this time, I ask for an introduction to the ordinance.
I would like to make a motion to introduce an ordinance amending the Town of Ocean View Code relating to licenses as set out in Chapter 93.
Thank you. The third ordinance is one amending the Town of Ocean View Code related to property maintenance as set out in Chapter 169. Hold on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. We did, the first one was A1 was licenses and
Right.
A2 was land use development. Did he say licenses or land use development?
Land use development is number 3.
Yeah, I think he said
No, I said,
licenses.
I read 2.
Yeah, you read 2.
All right.
And,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I think
They're
they're,
backwards in the
they're
book.
backwards in the
backwards in the
book,
book, yeah.
okay, they're backwards in the book, so that was the issue. So, did you introduce licenses, or?
No, I introduced the right one. It was
Okay,
just
okay.
the second one
My
in the book.
apologies, they were
That's all.
backwards in the book, so
That's
I was,
correct.
yeah.
Okay. We're introducing an ordinance amending the Town of Ocean View Code relating to property maintenance as set out in chapter 169. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to introduce an ordinance amending the Town of Ocean View Code relating to property maintenance as set out in Chapter 169.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to discussion, consideration, and possible voting on a recommendation, on a recommended funding increase and approval of a contract to complete ADA improvements at 201 Central Avenue. Mr. Semino?
All right, so, advertisements soliciting sealed bids for ADA improvements at 201 Central Avenue was sent via email or a current list of regular bidders. The email is attached in this packet. Bid proposals were accepted by the town manager of the municipal building on Thursday, June 8th, 2023. We received 2 bids for the reference projects. The results were as follows. Adel Construction for $60,000. This is a lump sum bid. Georgia Lynch Incorporated for $130,700, also a lump sum bid. Engineer's estimate, $67,995. Funding for the construction of this project is available in the capital improvement budget line item for 201 Central Sidewalk repairs. Current amount available is $60,500. Since this is a lump sum contract, there will be no overruns. Additional funding in the amount of $6,000 is needed for the construction management and is available in the FY24 contingency line item, which has a current amount of $234,000. Staff recommends the mayor and council authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with Adel Construction for the total bid amount of $60,000 and to increase the funding by $6,000 to Mont McDonald for construction management, construction engineering, and inspection. Now, all this money, at the end of the day, is in the same pot. So really what I'm asking you is to approve the contract and approve the additional $60,000.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
If not, then I need a motion to increase the funding and approval of a contract to complete the ADA improvements at 201 Central Avenue in the amount of $6,000.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that request for the additional funding for the ADA sidewalk improvements at 201 Central Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Moving on to discussion, consideration, possible voting on a recommended funding increase.
Time out, I think we also have to do the 60.
No, that money's available.
I know, but they still have to approve it.
They have to approve the contract.
Yeah, so
Oh,
we
sorry.
need somebody to make a motion on the 60,000 for the actual improvement. The 6,000 was for the inspection services.
That was my mistake,
That's okay.
thinking that all we had, it was already approved to 60,000. but-
Well, it is approved in the budget. It is a capital item, but you guys get to have the last say.
Okay. I now need a motion to to approve the funding of $60,000 in the contract to complete the ADA improvements at 201 Central Avenue. Steve, would you like to do that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll make an additional request for approval of additional funding for the ADA sidewalk improvements at 201 Central for the construction amount of $60,000.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Discussion, consideration, and possible voting on a recommended funding increase and approval of Ocean View PZ&D 23-08 Broad Baltimore footbridge. Ken?
Mayor and council, this project is similar to the last project in that my funding request and approval is going to be twofold. Advertisements soliciting sealed bids for the Lord Baltimore Elementary School Book Bridge. project OVPZ&D 2308, were placed in local newspapers and on the town's website. Bid proposals were accepted by the town manager at the municipal building located at 201 Central Avenue on June the 3rd, 2023. We received 2 sealed bids for the reference project. The results are as follow. George and Lynch Incorporated for $124,839. Adel Construction, $135,500. Our engineer's estimate was for $84,157. Current funding available for the construction of this project in the FY 23 and 24 capital improvement budget line item is currently at $117,000. This project was funded over 2 years. I anticipated that the construction costs would be higher, so we added, I believe, $30,000 in FY 24. Obviously, it wasn't high enough. Additional funding in the amount of $35,000 is needed for award of this contract, construction management, and legal assistance from the solicitor's office. This additional funding is also available in the FY 24 contingency line item in the amount of $234,000. Actually, at the time I wrote this, if we dated the other one, it was $240,000. So we need, we're basically $7,839 short for the actual construction of the project, with a 10% contingency of $12,484. That would be $20,323 needed for construction, and for representation for condemnation action through the solicitor's office. We'll need $14,677 for McDonald to do construction management, construction inspection. That makes up to $35,000. It's therefore recommended that the mayor and council increase the funding for the construction of this project by $20,223 and authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with George and Lynch Incorporated for the total bid amount of $124,839,000. And it is also recommended that the mayor and council increase funding by $14,677 to Mott McDonald for construction management, construction engineering, and construction inspection.
Before you vote, or anybody makes a motion, I just want to kind of do a shout out about a few years ago, we started budgeting a contingency for our capital programs. So we take a percentage of all the anticipated costs and we put that into a contingency. And we promise you that before we use it, we're to come back and get your okay, but it's really worked out so well. Just makes it so much easier to already have a pot of money with our programming to be able to draw from if projects come in over. So I just wanted to kind of, you heard a lot about contingency, but that's all budgeted funds and we keep track of it and you guys get to approve the use of it.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
This bridge is used as a, quote, escape area, walkway, if you will, for the children and or teachers in case something should happen at the Lord Baltimore Elementary School. It's an exit point, and very excited that we're finally getting that piece of the puzzle down. I know Colleen, Ms. Twarzik is as well. The last piece of the puzzle, so to speak, as far as a logical route of escape.
So this bridge can be used by anyone, not just with teachers and students, at any time? No.
No, there's,
There will be a gate with a lock. There will only be keys given to the police department, to the school, and I'll probably have one in the event they can't get in touch with him and it needs to be opened up.
Yeah, and probably the fire department.
Fire
Fire
department,
department, yeah.
So,
The bridge is traffic barrier,
Mhm.
so it can support the weight of fire apparatus, police vehicles, so on and so forth.
It will be restricted for emergency use only.
Mhm. And it will be maintained by the town of Ocean View?
That's correct.
Any further questions?
will go into our inventory of physical assets.
Then I need a motion to fund the increase in approval of the OVPZ and D 23-08 Lord Baltimore Footbridge as outlined in the staff recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the increase in funding of the construction of the Lord Baltimore Elementary School footbridge project. And the construction of this project to fund $20,323 and authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with George and Lynch Inc. for the total amount of $124,839 and to increase funding by $14,677 to Mont McDonald.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? So approved. The next item is discussion, consideration, and possible voting on a recommendation approval for additional funding for the Del Dot TAP grant coordination for Woodland Daisy Project OVPZ and D 23-04.
So Mayor and Council, before I jump into this, I just want to say briefly, the previous project, this project, and the next project, are all projects that don't show up in print in my monthly report, but do take an enormous amount of staff time through our town planner, Jill Oliver, and all their deed research for various projects and initiatives, to my time and Carol's time, wrangling with the outside agencies, trying to capture some of this funding. So I just wanted to point that out for those who are in attendance and maybe listening that aren't aware of some of the things we do that don't show up. A little background on this project. This project, which is OV's PZ&D 2308, was awarded a Transportation Alternatives Project grant, a TAP grant from the Delaware Department of Transportation on February 20th, 2023 for a dollar amount of $500,000. The process for receiving the TAP funding from DelDOT has required a significant amount of discussion and DelDOT's attempts to redesign our project and gently suggest that we change the way we do business in administering our projects, even some of our design, which we have rigorously pushed back on. This also takes resources from our consulting engineers, because those are the ones who design it, they sit in these meetings with us. As we move forward with this process, we're going to need consulting dollars. We have to pay these folks. They sit in these meetings with us and represent us. We need to pay them, and we need the dollars to do that. These additional exercises, except for the changes to the bid documents for state and federal requirements, were unforeseen and unfortunately very time consuming. Total cost of additional work being completed by the consulting engineering staff is anticipated to be $30,000. Now keep in mind, while we are proposing that you allocate an additional $30,000, the upside of all of this is our budget for this project is $625,000. DelDOT has committed to giving us 80% back, which is a max total of $500,000. So, yes, we're putting another $30,000 out, but we're going to net a potential $470,000. Funding is available again in the FY24 contingency line item. After the last two approvals, the amount available is $193,000. It's my recommendation that Mayor and Council authorize the town manager to increase the funding for this project by $30,000 for the additional engineering task.
Thank you. Any questions for Ken on this one? If not, then I need a motion to approve for additional funding for the DelDOT TAP grant coordination for Woodland Daisy Project OVPZ&D 23-04.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt and approve for additional funding for the Del Dot Tap Grant Project on Woodland and Daisy Project OVPZ&D 23-04 for additional $30,000 as requested.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. The last item, discussion, consideration, of possible voting on a recommendation approval for additional funding for Del Dot TAP grant coordination for Burzins parcel. Ken.
Again, the background on this is for the parcel of land that we purchased on the corner of Muddy Neck and Double Bridges Road. Our plan is to turn this parcel of land into a nature center with walking trails, a boardwalk, and other amenities. It's a land preservation project, which has and will, don't know how I want to say this, but it will not allow that property to be developed for home sites. The alternative was probably would have ended up being 6 townhomes. As you know, the Burzins Nature Trail Center was awarded the Transportation Alternatives Program grant from the Delaware Department of Transportation on February 20, 2023 for an anticipated dollar amount of $1.2 million. The process, again, of receiving this TAP funding for the project, this will require discussions with FHWA, which we're already having, and many Del Dot divisions, plan development, and construction document preparation and advertising. These additional exercises were unforeseen and will be very time consuming. Total cost of the additional work being completed by the consulting engineering staff is anticipated to be in the amount of about $25,000. Funding is available through ARPA. Current funding amount is $420,000. Keep in mind again, out of this $1.2 million, we will receive a max total of 80% back in our coffers. It's my recommendation that Mayor and Council authorize the town manager to increase the funding for this project by $25,000 to fund the additional engineering.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? If not, then I need a motion to approve the additional funding for Del Dot TAP grant coordination for Burzins parcel in the amount of $25,000. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget change for the Burzins Nature Center, the amount of $25,000.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Thank you. We now go into citizens' privilege. You may ask any question on anything that was on the agenda or that you might have in mind. It's now open to the public. Hearing no questions or comments, I now move that we go into executive session. I think I need a motion to do that. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor, we need a motion to go into executive session.
I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. You're welcome to stay. I don't know how long this will take. But we will re-adjourn, we will re-meet after that. I need a motion to adjourn from executive session.
Motion to adjourn from the executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. I need a motion now to go back into general session. Okay, we don't need that? Oh, okay,
You've returned and now we can adjourn.
right, okay, so now we are back. I think I will ask the solicitor to make a comment about executive session.
We have discussed matters in executive session as set forth in the agenda, and it's confidential.
And no action needed.
Yes, no action needed.
All right, I now need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.